Dear students, in this session we will learn about the circulatory system of Amphioxus or Branchiostoma. Now we are already familiar with, we have already learned about the morphology of Branchiostoma, and we know about its habitat and what are the structures that you can see on its external morphology, and we are also familiar with the process of feeding mechanisms in Branchiostoma and its digestive system. We have learned about the alimentary canal and how the process of digestion occurs, including the feeding mechanism in our previous sessions. So I'm Dr. Lata, Assistant Professor, Department of Zoology, Maharani Science College for Women, Bengaluru. Today in this session we will learn about circulatory system of Branchiostoma. I hope you can recollect this picture. We have already seen this while discussing about its morphology. And the main objective of the session is to make you understand the design and the flow of blood in case of Amphioxus, which constitutes its circulatory system. Now this is the picture of Amphioxus in its original habitat, and you are very familiar with this diagram also, wherein you have learned about the functions of oral cirri, the mouth, the pharyngeal gill slits, the atrium, the intestine, the hindgut, anus and the atriopore. All this we have discussed while learning about the feeding mechanisms in Amphioxus. Now coming to the circulatory system. Circulatory system of Branchiostoma, it's of the closed type, well developed and peculiar in many ways. So why we call it as a closed type of circulatory system? Because here the fluid flows in a definite blood vessels. Now blood here is colorless. It is colorless because it does not contain any kind of respiratory pigment in it, nor the corpuscles. So you don't find any kind of corpuscles in it, and also the respiratory pigment. Besides blood vessels, it also occurs in the lymph spaces such as metapleural folds and the dorsal and the ventral fin. I hope you remember these metapleural folds. What are metapleural folds? It is the lateral extension of the body wall of this Amphioxus, which are fused on the ventral side with the help of an horizontal muscle called as epipleur. Thereby they form a cavity called atrial cavity that we discussed. So in these lymph spaces, in this metapleural folds and the dorsal and the ventral fins, you find this presence of blood there. So here the blood seems more function of the blood here is mainly to transport the food and the excretory waste rather than bringing about the gaseous exchange. Alright. So this is a very peculiar type of circulatory system that you see in case of Branchiostoma, which differs from other organisms. Here you all know that heart is the main organ of circulatory system, but in Branchiostoma the heart is lacking. That means you do not find a pumping organ called heart. Rather, all the blood vessels are muscular and they are contractile in nature. Because of this contraction of the blood vessels, the blood keeps on moving, or it keeps on moving from either towards the anterior side or towards the posterior side. Now when I say this, I mean when you learn about all these arteries and veins of this Branchiostoma, in few you find the blood being pumped in the anterior side, or if the blood flows forward, and in few vessels it flows backwards. Okay, and this kind of movement occurs because of the contractile nature of these blood vessels. Now here, whenever we refer to the term arteries and veins, here you don't find any kind of structural difference between arteries and veins as you find in higher mammals. But here the names are referred based on like whichever blood vessel bring the blood to the sinus venosus, they are all referred as veins, which picks up blood from different parts of the body and pours it into a structure called sinus venosus. We call them as veins. And the blood vessels which carry the blood from the sinus venosus to the different parts of the body, we call them as arteries. Okay, so with this basic information, let's move on to learning the circulatory system in branchiostoma. Now let us learn the structures one by one. Now the main structure of this circulatory system in Amphioxus is sinus venosus. Now this sinus venosus is a very small thin walled sac present just below the posterior end of the pharynx or the midgut diverticulum. Now blood from different parts of the body is collected and poured it into this sinus venosus through number of veins, and from this sinus venosus the blood is pumped forward into the ventral aorta. Now when we are discussing this, since you already know the morphology of Amphioxus, you should have that picture at the back of your mind so that you know where exactly the pharynx or the pharyngeal region come. And while learning about the alimentary canal, we have discussed about this midgut diverticulum. So there you know where you know the position of this midgut diverticulum, right? So sinus venosus is a thin sac-like structure which is present at the hind end of the pharynx near this midgut diverticulum, and blood from all different parts of the body are carried by the veins and it is all being put into this sinus venosus. And this sinus venosus, when it contracts, it pumps the blood anteriorly into ventral aorta. That means from sinus venosus, one blood vessel continues forward, which is called as ventral aorta. Now, what is this ventral aorta? Ventral aorta is a large median longitudinal artery extending forward from sinus venosus. It runs mid-ventrally in the wall of the pharynx below the endostyle. So, ventral aorta, it runs mid-ventrally in the wall of the pharynx below the endostyle in the subendostylar coelom. And because of this, it is also called as subendostylar aorta, since it runs below the endostyle. Now here blood flows anteriorly due to the rhythmic contraction of this muscular walls. The ventral aorta gives off a series of paired lateral afferent branchial arteries, one running through each primary gill bar of the pharynx. Now here you should recollect the structure of the pharyngeal pharynx that we have discussed. We said it is made up of number of gill slits. In this you find two kinds of gills, that is two kinds of gill bars, primary gill bar and the secondary gill bar. And here this ventral aorta, it gives off series of paired lateral afferent branchial arteries which run through each primary gill bar of the pharynx. And we will be using two terms here. One is afferent branchial arteries, which is spelled as AFFERENT. Now these afferent branchial arteries are the ones which take blood to the gills. Okay, and later we will talk about efferent, that is EFFERENT. These efferent branchial arteries are the ones which picks up the blood from the gills and take it to the other parts of the body. So afferent vessels always take blood to the gills. Efferent, it always picks up the blood from the gills. This difference you should know. So at the base of the gill bar, each branchial artery, it forms a pulsatile tiny bulb called as bulbuli. Now if you look at this picture, here is the sinus venosus, this marked region, that means this portion is what is referred as sinus venosus. Okay, so this receives blood from all different parts of the body. You can follow these arrows which shows the input of blood to the sinus venosus. Okay, so this sinus venosus, it leads to ventral aorta or the subendostylar vessel, which is this. So from where is this ventral aorta coming? It is originating from the sinus venosus. So wherein the blood flows anteriorly or forward. Okay, this is what we have discussed so far. Now from this ventral aorta, we said it gives off afferent branchial arteries, right? So these are the afferent branchial arteries, the one which goes to the primary gill bars or the primary afferent branchial arteries, the one which goes to secondary gill bar or the secondary afferent branchial arteries. Now if you observe here at the base of these afferent arteries, you can find these round structures, right? Now these rounded structures which are contractile, that means it is a pulsatile organ which can pump the blood. So they are called as bulbulus. If it is single, we call it as bulbulus or bulbule. In plural form, it is bulbuli. So this helps in circulating the blood. Through transverse vessels running in synapticulae, the different branchial vessels of primary gill bars are connected to those of secondary gill bars. So these are the transverse vessels in the synapticulae, which in turn connects the primary gill flow of blood to primary gill bars and the secondary gill bars. Now the afferent vessels leave the pharynx. Okay, from here the blood from the ventral aorta goes to bulbuli, from bulbuli to this primary and the secondary gill bars, and which are in turn connected with the help of these transverse vessels, and from there it leaves the blood to the efferent branchial arteries. Now these efferent branchial arteries are these. Okay, now these are the efferent branchial arteries. Now when blood reaches these efferent branchial arteries, what happens? Now the blood has come from the afferent arteries to the gill bars, and when the water enters through the mouth into the pharyngeal region, water also carries oxygen in it, right? So here the blood is all exposed to the water, and it is assumed that here the exchange of gases takes place, and whatever oxygenation has occurred, this oxygenated blood, it gets picked up by these efferent arteries. Okay, now these efferent arteries, when they pick up this oxygenated blood, they pour it into the lateral dorsal aorta. Now if you see these two vessels here, they are present on the lateral side, and hence they are named as lateral dorsal aorta. So the blood from this efferent branchial arteries are poured into the lateral dorsal aorta, and these two lateral dorsal aorta here, they at the back they both join together to form one common median dorsal aorta. So this median dorsal aorta is formed by the fusion of these two lateral dorsal aorta. Okay, now before joining to this lateral dorsal aorta, each of these efferent vessels splits. Here can you see this small capillary kind of network here? So here what happens, the efferent vessels here before joining to the lateral dorsal aorta, they just split into a small capillary network, the nephric glomerulus, that is, it's a network formed in the kidneys or the nephridia. So they are called as vessel of protonephridium or glomus. So here the blood vessels split into a network called as a nephric glomerular sinus or the glomus, because it gets split into the nephridium, and then it joins the lateral dorsal aorta, and both these lateral dorsal aortae, they fuse to form one median dorsal aorta here. Okay, so I hope you understood this whole process. So to start with, we said first the blood from all different parts of the body, it is taken up by the it is poured in the sinus venosus. Here from the sinus venosus, the blood is pumped forward into the ventral aorta, and from the ventral aorta it is given off to the afferent branchial vessels. When if it leads into primary Gilbert, you call it as primary afferent branchial vessel. The one which goes to secondary Gilbert is called as secondary branchial arteries. And then this afferent branchial arteries, it starts off in the form of a small pulsatile organs called as bulbulas, and these bulbuli or the pulsatile organs, they pump the blood to move forward in the afferent branchial arteries into these Gilberts, and from there the blood is picked up by the efferent branchial arteries, and these are the ones. So these efferent branchial arteries, they join into two main blood vessels called as lateral dorsal aortae. This is the first one and this is the second one. So before joining to this, they form a kind of network in the nephridium, and hence they are called as vessel of protonephridium or the glomus. And these two lateral dorsal aortae, they fuse to form one common median dorsal aorta. Okay, so the blood from sinus venosus flows to ventral aorta to bulbuli, bulbuli to afferent branchial arteries. From afferent branchial artery, take the blood to the Gilberts, wherein the oxygenation is assumed to happen, and this oxygenated blood is taken up by the efferent branchial arteries, and they form the glomerulus in the nephridia, and then they join to the lateral dorsal aorta, and from the lateral dorsal aorta, both the lateral dorsal aorta, they fuse to form one median dorsal aorta. Yes. Now let us learn about dorsal aorta. We said this dorsal aorta is formed by in the two longitudinal vessels, the right and the left lateral dorsal aorta, lie one on either dorsolateral side of pharynx, and they continue anteriorly as internal carotid arteries to supply blood to the oral hood. Okay, this lateral dorsal aorta, they move forward. Okay, they move forward supplying blood to the oral hood. So this is the anterior region and this is the posterior region. So here this continues forward supplying as internal carotid artery, and this arteries supply blood to the oral hood region. Now these two lateral aortae unite just behind the pharynx here, forming median dorsal aorta, which runs posteriorly between the notochord and intestine, and it enters the tail region as caudal artery. So this runs backward as caudal artery. Now the blood flows backwards in the dorsal aorta. From lateral and median dorsal aortae, branches lead into myocene, that is towards the muscles, the lymph space between myotomes and the body wall. Then this median dorsal aorta supply blood through several intestinal arteries. See, from the median dorsal aorta, it supplies blood to the intestine through several arteries, forming a capillary of network which are called as intestinal plexus. Right? So from the median dorsal aorta, anteriorly it continues as internal carotid artery supplying blood to the oral hood region. Posteriorly it continues as intestinal artery, and it in turn supplies blood to the intestine, and here it forms a network resulting in the formation of intestinal plexus, and it continues backward supplying to the tail region, and you call it as caudal artery. Then the subintestinal vein. Now here the blood from the tail region is collected by the caudal vein. Now we will talk about the veins, or the ones which picks up blood from different parts of the body. So the first one here will be the caudal vein. And what does this caudal vein do? As the name suggests, caudal means tail region. This picks up blood from the tail region, and from the intestine the blood is picked from this intestinal vein. Okay, and these join to form a small median subintestinal vein. Now these two will form a subintestinal vein, and here the blood flows anteriorly. Look at this arrow, it shows anteriorly. So from here the blood will flow anteriorly. Now this subintestinal vein continues anteriorly as hepatic portal vein. If you see, this caudal vein and the subintestinal vein here, it moves forward and it continues as hepatic portal vein. Now which is the organ that corresponds to the liver of higher vertebrates? We said it is midgut diverticulum. Now where is midgut diverticulum? Here it is this portion. Okay, so here what is happening? The blood, when it moves from the subintestinal vein, it continues here and it enters into the midgut diverticulum and then comes to sinus venosus. Just make a note of it. Here the blood flows like this and it is going into this midgut diverticulum, and then it goes back into sinus venosus there. So here the subintestinal vein continues anteriorly as this hepatic portal vein running ventrally along the midgut diverticulum, and here it breaks up into a capillary network. From midgut diverticulum, the blood is collected by the hepatic vein, and it runs along its dorsal border and it bends slightly downwards to join sinus venosus here. Now this hepatic portal system, it occurs for the first time in branchiostoma, and this acts as a precursor of that of higher chordates. That means it represents the basic model of this hepatic portal system which is seen in branchiostoma. I hope you got this. Next is the cardinal veins. Now we have learnt about these blood vessels. We know this is ventral aorta, this is median dorsal aorta, these are the two lateral dorsal aortae, and these are the intestinal arteries, and these are the intestinal veins. Now here you can see that there is one major blood vessel coming here, and this is nothing but the cardinal vein. Now here the blood from the ventrolateral region of the body is collected on either side by an anterior and the posterior cardinal vein. This is the anterior cardinal vein, and here it is the posterior cardinal vein. Now these two unite to form one major blood vessel, which is called as the common cardinal vein or ductus cuveri. Okay, so here it is labeled as common cardinal vein or the ductus cuveri. So how this ductus cuveri is formed? It is formed by the fusion of this anterior cardinal and the posterior cardinal. Now the two ductus cuveri then run down through the atrium to join the sinus venosus. Right? Now the next one is the parietal vein. Now this parietal vein, it collects blood from the dorsal body wall, and by this parietal veins, and one on either side, they run above the intestine and then turn ventrally to join the sinus venosus. Yes. So now the sinus venosus is receiving blood from which all blood vessels? From the intestinal veins and from the caudal vein. They both together form the subintestinal vein, and that takes the blood to the midgut diverticulum as hepatic vein, and from there it breaks up into glomerulus, and then it comes back and pours the blood into sinus venosus. And then the cardinal veins, the anterior and the posterior cardinal veins, they both join together to form common cardinal, and they pour the blood into sinus venosus. And then from the dorsal body wall, the blood gets collected from the parietal veins, and then they pour all the blood into sinus venosus. So like this, sinus venosus receives blood from all different parts of the body, and it gets collected, and once it contracts and pumps, the blood moves forwards through the ventral aorta, and from ventral aorta it goes to the afferent branchial arteries and through this bulbuli, and then that is picked up by the efferent branchial arteries, and they join the lateral dorsal aortae, and these two lateral dorsal aortae fuse to form the median dorsal aorta that continues backward as caudal artery and the intestinal artery supplying the intestine. So this lateral aortae, they continue anteriorly as carotid arteries supplying blood to the oral hood region. So this is how the blood gets pumped from the sinus venosus in two different parts of the body, and also it has been picked up by the veins and poured it in the sinus venosus. I hope you have got this right. So what you need to do is you have to first note down the diagram properly, and beside the diagram you just note down the names of this major blood vessels that we discussed, and then note down like to which region it supplies the blood and from where it picks up the blood. That makes your learning much more easier. So this is all we have discussed so far, like how the blood moves from one to the other. We have discussed about the subintestinal vein, we have said about the hepatic portal system, we learnt about the parietal veins, okay, and we have said about the cardinal veins, anterior cardinal and the posterior cardinal joining to form ductus qveri, or the common cardinal vein which pours the blood into sinus venosus. And then now let's summarize the course of blood circulation. Now here the blood flows anteriorly in the caudal arteries, the blood flows anteriorly in the caudal vein, the subintestinal, the parietals, the posterior cardinals and the ventral aorta. It is only in these blood vessels that the blood moves anteriorly. The blood flows towards the anterior side. Now when you look at the other blood vessels, the laterals, the median dorsal aorta and the anterior cardinals, here the blood flows backward. Okay, so when you copy the diagram, please make a note to highlight the direction of the arrows. That makes you easier to learn how the blood flows. Now coming to the lymphatic system, lymphatic spaces or the sinuses are present in the cavities containing fin rays of this dorsal and the ventral fins, and there are paired canals that you see in the metapleural folds also. And here also the spaces are filled with colorless blood having no leukocytes, because initially only we said that the blood is devoid of any respiratory pigment and you don't find any corpuscles. Now this is just a schematic representation of a course of blood circulation in branchiostoma. This will help you to summarize the blood flow in amphioxus. So this is what we have learned so far. See, from sinus venosus the blood flows to the blood is pushed to the ventral aorta, from the ventral aorta to the afferent branchial vessels, from afferent branchial vessels through this bulbuli it flows to efferent branchial vessels, from the efferent branchial vessels it moves to lateral dorsal aorta, and these two lateral dorsal aortae anteriorly it continues as carotid arteries, and posteriorly it moves back to join into a main median dorsal aorta. And this median dorsal aorta it continues as caudal artery, and it also continues as intestinal artery, and then intestinal artery supplying blood to the intestine, where it breaks up into intestinal plexus, and then the blood is picked up by the here it is, it forms into the caudal artery, and then the blood from the tail region is picked up by the caudal vein, which combines with the subintestinal vein forming the hepatic portal vein, and this forms the hepatic portal system, and from where the blood is poured into sinus venosus. And then the two cardinals, the anterior and the posterior cardinals, they both join together to form the cardinal vein, and these two cardinals, when they join, they form a structure called as ductus qveri, which in turn pours the blood into sinus venosus. And sinus venosus also receive blood from this parietal veins, which picks up blood from the dorsal body wall on either side, and then this cycle continues, so that the circulation in amphioxus keeps on continuing. Okay, this is how the circulation happens in branchiostoma. I hope you have made it as simple as possible and you have understood. So along with the diagram, you note down this flow chart also, which helps you to learn it better and remember the flow of blood properly. Once you are thorough with this chart, that helps you to know the concept better. Now let's take up few questions just to recollect what we have learned so far. Which of the following collects the blood from the entire body of Amphioxus? Is this the ventral aorta, the ductus qveri, the dorsal aorta, or the sinus venosus? Here, which organ holds the blood which comes from all different parts of the body? The right answer is option D, sinus venosus. Second question, which one of the following regulates flow of blood in circulatory system of branchiostoma? Is it the cardinals, the ductus qveri, the bulbi, or the sinus venosus? Which regulates? The answer is C, the bulbi. The blood vascular system of branchiostoma is of closed type, open type, both, or none of the above. What's the answer? Answer A, it is closed type. Which of the following statements is not true? Understand the question and also pay attention to the options. Here, which of the following statements is not true? Blood flows anteriorly in the caudal vein of branchiostoma. Blood flows backwards in anterior cardinals of branchiostoma. Blood flows anteriorly in ventral aorta of branchiostoma. And blood flows backwards in the ventral aorta of branchiostoma. What is the right one? We said the blood flows anteriorly in caudal vein, right? From caudal vein it pours into sinus venosus, so it flows anteriorly. That means A is correct. B says it flows backwards in anterior cardinals. Yes, it is correct. From anterior cardinals it flows backwards. From posterior cardinals it flows anteriorly. So this is correct. Then blood flows anteriorly in ventral aorta. Is it true? Yes, it is true. Because from sinus venosus the blood flows anteriorly in the ventral aorta. Blood flows backwards in ventral aorta of branchiostoma is the wrong statement, which is not true. So the option is answer D. Now, which of the following is true? Which of the statements are correct? Blood to Horalud region is supplied by internal carotid artery in branchiostoma. Blood to Horalud region is supplied by external carotid, or the blood to Horalud region is supplied by afferent branchial arteries. The blood to Horalud is supplied by efferent branchial arteries. Now, which is the right answer here? The blood to the Horalud is supplied by the internal carotid artery. So the answer is option A. So that is just to recollect the few important points, and these are the references from which the content has been taken, and you can refer the same for further reading. And thank you for listening. I hope this has helped you to understand the circulatory system in branchiostoma. Thank you.